Check. I can hear Robbie. Can everybody else hear Robbie? If you can, give him a thumbs up.
Hey, y'all.
Awesome. And you can all see Robbie? Great. All right, Robbie. I'm going to do a little quick talking before I let you do your thing. So let me spotlight myself. Hi, everybody. If you are new to Music for All Summer Symposium and you don't know who I am, my name is Susie Harloff, and I am the division coordinator for the Color Guard track at the Summer Symposium. Thank you guys for all being here. I'm super excited at how many people are here. It's great. Learning from Robbie is always a treat. Just a couple of housekeeping things. You are welcome to keep your cameras on if you would like. If you are more comfortable turning your camera off so that you're not worried about us looking at you, you are more than welcome to do that as well. Please keep muted unless we ask you to unmute. If you have questions, use the chat room to ask questions. And then I wanted to make access to all of this content as easy as possible. So I did not want to make you go through a registration process. However, that means these Zoom meetings have been given to whoever. Anybody can get in here. So that's always a scary thing. So I'm going to do my best to monitor, make sure that there's no inappropriate shenanigans going on. If you guys could also, if you see something that's inappropriate or you see someone on here that probably shouldn't be on here, please send me a chat message, let me know so I can get them out. Okay. We had a very successful dance class with Vincent this morning, so I'm hoping for more of the same with Robbie. So ladies and gentlemen, one of the best faculty members on the face of the earth, Mr. Robbie Arnold. And Robbie, if you could kind of introduce yourself and then you can get going teaching us how to tech tosses.
Awesome. Hey guys, I'm Robbie Arnold. If you can't tell from my accent, I am from the South. Well, Kentucky is the South, I guess, to most people. So that's where I am. This is my lovely backyard, lawnmowers, trampolines, and all. So yeah, I taught elementary school for 10 years, and then I decided that I wanted to do this whole marching arts thing full time, and it turned out to be successful. So that's what I'm doing. And then COVID happened, and now I'm like, okay, thank God Susie's with me, and she's got some, we've got lots of people to look out for and to keep in contact with and all that kind of stuff for all of those networking things. Got two little boys that are upstairs cleaning their room right now, and they are so mad at me that it's not even funny because they lost a flashlight. And I told them to put the flashlight back, and the flashlight did not get put back. So when I needed the flashlight today, I was over it. Anyway, so there you go. That's the story. And they are really, really, really mad. They'll get over it. So what we're going to talk about today is we're just going to talk about how we tech tosses on flag. And we're going to go through a few different tosses. And go through, I know that there's probably instructors in this one and there's students in this one. So I think all the information will be very, very important because I think that being able to get a toss really nice in the air takes both parties, obviously. So if you're an instructor, I'm going to give a lot of information that will be geared toward that. And then students take a hold of that instruction and that information too. And we'll go, and it's just going to be beneficial. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is what tosses we're going to kind of talk about. I would like to talk about 3 or 4 different types of tosses today, just to kind of give some information, and I'll be demonstrating and all that as we go. So I definitely want to talk about like what I call a swing lift or a single or a flat silk toss, a pop toss, and a couple 45 tosses, a pole toss or J toss from the pole. Those kinds of things, just to kind of give you some breakdown and information. If you have any questions, what I would like to kind of do is, or I should say, when you have questions, what I'd like to do is do one toss and then kind of come to the table and talk about it for a second and see if you have any questions, and then move to the next toss and kind of do that throughout the class. I think that would be helpful in keeping me on track and maybe helpful keeping you on track. Sound like a good plan? We're good with that? I think there's some familiar faces on here as I scroll through all of these screens, which is awesome. I wish we were live in Muncie right now, but you take the good, you take the bad, and you get on an iPad and you start teaching flags from around the world. So that's what we do. All right. So first off, let's go ahead and start with a very basic, simple toss the pop toss, and lots of people have different names for these things. So if it's something different than you, then just say, okay, there's another name for it. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. The first thing that is so important when we talk about tossing is hand placement. All right. So students, when you're standing in your block and you're learning these things, you want to make sure that your hands are in the right place. And instructors, if you're standing in front of that block, then you want to make sure that all of your members' hands are in the right place. I like to start this one with my right hand at the tab and my left hand up at the top tape, which is closest to the tip, at a nice tight, I call this a nice seatbelt angle, so that you arrive alive. It cuts right exactly where your seatbelt would if you were driving your car. If you're not a driver yet, then you know what I'm talking about. All right. From there, I really think about the first thing that I teach my students is the squeeze to get the energy going into the hands, and then the release point. Okay. Now, for this pop toss, I'm going to think about my release point being about hair level, forehead level, and I'm going to think about my elbow being pointed down, okay? So that when I go into the air, I can create some consistency there from member to member, all right? So when I go into that pop toss, I'm going to give it a squeeze on 8, and I'm going to push it right on 1. Now, when I'm doing this with my students, I'm going to check that probably 3 to 5 times. I should also say this. When I'm at the tab, I grab with an overhand grip, okay? So that my thumb is underneath like this. Both hands are over. You can do it from under, but I feel like sometimes that confuses younger members because they want to twist the wrist instead of push the wrist straight through. Okay, so thumb over or thumb down, hand over, hand over. And then, like I said, I'm going to mark this probably 3 to 5 times just to make sure that my kiddos understand. So do this with me. We're going to go 5, 6, 7. We're going to squeeze on 8. We're going to push on 1, and we're going to freeze. What I'm looking for here is this pole to be straight up and down. And I'm looking in the camera right now to see if mine is. Pole straight up and down, silk up, hand in the right place as far as where I want it on my body, and elbow placed down. Strong core, strong solid foundation in the feet and legs. And then a nice presence with the upper body and the chest. So if I'm marking through this, I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, squeeze, and I'm going to have the kiddos say squeeze, and I'm going to go out. And I'm going to get them in the habit of saying squeeze out for every single one, okay? So let's try a couple of those. Here we go. 5 and 6, 5, 6, 7, squeeze out. There you go. Good. Now, to get that power to make that flag go all the way around, you want to make sure that both hands are squeezing equally. And you also want to make sure that both hands are moving equally to put the flag in the air where it needs to go, okay? Now, I want to do that 2 more times, and then we'll talk again. Here we go. Just to the release point, and that's just getting that consistency. 5 and 6, and 5, 6, 7, squeeze out. Good, and go with what you hear, not with what you see. You're doing a nice job. Let's try that one more time. 5 and 6, and 5, 6, 7, squeeze out. Good. Okay, so next, when we talk about releasing it, one of the very, very first things that I talk about with any kiddo is the second that you're scared of it leaving your hands is the second that you're going to get hit or injured. And no one wants that. So when you put it in the air, you want to keep your foundation in your feet nice and strong. You want to make sure that your body is in control. So all you're really worried about is that flag moving around up in the air and coming into a nice catch. All right. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to throw a pop toss that catches pole up. So the silk is going to go up, and then back down. Okay. And that rhythm and that placement is going to be really important soon. All right. So let's try one of those. So it's going to look like this. 5, 6, 7, squeeze, up, down, out. Woo. I got wind. We're going to do that one more time, and then we're going to talk about it. You got 5, 6, 7, squeeze, up, down, up, catch. Okay. in the air. You ready? I want you to think about where the silk is on count 2 of this toss, because everybody's got in the same place. When we release this toss, on count 2, my silk is up, okay? So up, down, up, 1 and 2, and then 3 should be the landing of that toss straight up and down in your hands. When you go into that catch, you're gonna want to go into the catch the same way with the right hand that we started. Right hand at the tab. Left hand is actually gonna be underneath so that when it comes down, you can counteract that motion coming in. Now, you can catch this toss straight up and down. You can catch this toss at an angle. You can catch this toss flat. I like straight up and down, but a lot of people like this angle because it does let you see your face a little bit more from a performance standpoint, okay? So when we throw it this time, and then I kind of want to see you guys throw so I can give you some, maybe some individual comments if you want them. So for this pop toss, we're going to squeeze, release. I want you to watch for your silk to see if that count 2, if that silk gets up in the air where it's supposed to be, straight up and down. And then 3, we're going to lock it in nice and tight with a good catch, hands spread, top tape, and at the tap. So let's try one together. You ready? Remember, we're looking for count 2 in the air. That count 2 is going to be up. So we had 5 and 6 and 5, 6, 7, squeeze, up, down, up, catch. There you go. Let's go one more. I want you to really think about your feet, not letting them move. You got 5 and 6, 5, 6, 7, squeeze, up, down, up, catch. Yeah. Now, go ahead and throw some on your own, and let me see what we can talk about real quick. Go ahead. Go for it. I'm watching you. You just throw and throw and throw. Good. Yeah, so here's the next thing that I see real quick. I want you to think about your free hands, okay? Because this is what my wife tells the children too when she used to tell the children. She doesn't teach as much as she used to, but what she used to tell them is this flag, you have to think about it being your diamond necklace or your accessory to your outfit, okay? Now, I don't accessorize very well, so she does a great job of that, but I want you to think about your body maintaining a nice, strong posture. I want you to think about everything in that being really still and controlled, all right? The next thing that I want to talk about are these free arms, okay? So I'm going to air flag for you, and I'm going to be in a plie so I can be all in the camera. But from here, when I go to release, I'm going to release that flag. This path of this hand, my right hand, is going to take a straight line path, okay? And it's going to reach up above my head. My left hand's going to come down here on my quad, and it's going to stay really close to my body until the last second when I come in for that catch, okay? So the biggest thing I saw right just then when I asked you to do them individually was we had what I call scary Sherry arms, where you're like, don't let it hit me, okay? You don't want that. You want release, nice and tall, in control, letting your accessory spin above your head before it comes into that catch. Make sense? All right, try a couple of those. Go ahead. And don't be afraid of it. You got to put some power and some force in it. Good, the Rutherfords. Yeah, you want to make sure that you also keep that flag in front of you as it rotates so that it goes straight up and down. It has great placement. Yep. And then again, you want to look for that second count. You want to look for that count in the air that is the up count. Make sure I got through everyone. Excellent. Okay. So double check that again a couple more times. Just squeeze, out, down, up, catch. Now here's another little thing that you could do with this one. If you can't get that one around all the way, we can also catch it flat. So it's going to be a little less. Okay. So one of the early tosses that I teach my kids, same concept. We're just not going to throw as far. It's going to go up, down, going to come back up to flat. So it's going to look like this. Up, down, up, flat. Okay? And that may be a little bit easier to make happen for younger kids. Okay? Yeah, I saw somebody have a comment. Don't let that left hand cross the center line of your body. Absolutely correct. So when you push down with that left hand on this top toss, you're really going to want to make sure that this hand, the left hand, pushes down and remains here. So you've got to get all that force from this angle through here to make that flag go all the way around, if that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions about this one at all? Hello. Good to go? Awesome. Let's talk about one of my favorites. I call it a swing lift toss. A lot of people call it a silk toss or a single or a double. But it's the one that starts from your right hand being about a third into the silk from the tab, okay? And then your left hand being over top here on the top tape, all right? Now, a lot of people will give this one of those good old cones into it and then release out of it. I like that option, but I like to start my kiddos here at this nice seatbelt angle. And then I also like to talk to them about the motion that our wrist, the responsibility of our wrists and forearms as we move into this, okay? So we're swinging down, we're squeezing on 8. We're gonna push through 8 and to be it straight up and down, okay? Straight up and down on 8 and is super important to get this thing clean in the air, okay? So the squeeze on 8, the push down on 8 and. From 8 and, I'm going to take this, my right hand is going to go straight up to about a forehead position. And I like to check this one on a 45-degree angle, okay? Now, if you feel like you need to put it on the straight up and down, absolutely perfectly fine. The biggest thing is to make sure that everyone is exactly the same. Again, I'm going to probably rep this one 3 to 5 times with just 8 and then I'm going to rep it with 8 and 1, and then I'm going to rep it with the full toss, okay? So, talking about just 8 and 1 a couple of times here. We're at this angle. You got 5, 6, 7. Squeeze on 8. 8 and is straight up and down. And my elbow is not perfectly at an L. It's not perfectly parallel to the ground, but it is elbow down, close to my side, and has nice shape there. From that point, I'm going to lift straight up so that my arm goes from here and just lifts straight up here. So I'm really asking my wrist to do a lot of the work, okay? Not my forearm. Wrist does a lot of the work. From there, we're gonna go 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're gonna squeeze. And you're gonna make sure that that doesn't go past. It's hard to squeeze. Make sure it doesn't go past that straight up and down. It lands in that straight up and down plane. From there, I'm gonna do that a few times. 5, 6, 7, 8 and. So there, a couple more times. 5, 6, 7, squeeze and. Yep. And really understanding how that hand has to squeeze to stop the silk at that straight up and down. Then we'll go to the angle. So we'll go 5, 6, 7, squeeze and 1. And I normally take this at a little slower pace just so we can understand the mechanics of each one of those. Let's try that one more time. You got 5, 6, 7, squeeze and 1. The next thing that I want you to think about, and I noticed that I just did it, is I paused on that 8 and. You want to let the momentum, once you're working through 8 and to 1, you're going to want that momentum to pass through that 8 and not stop at it to get to 1, okay? So keep that in mind as well. Then we're going to let it go. So we have 5, 6, 7, squeeze on 8, 8 and. If you have new beginning flags, you may go 6, 7, 8, and 1 and 2, and just catch it down at this angle. You may have it go 1 and 2 and catch straight up and down. Or if you're at the point where you can go ahead and everybody's understanding it, you can get 6, 7, squeeze, 6, 7, squeeze, and 1 and 2 and, or 1, 2, 3. Now, I like a slow tempo in the beginning with these things because I think that members can see exactly where each point of those would go, and instructors can see, you know, where that pass-through point is on the 8 and where that accent is or that release point is up on that angle or straight up and down. Again, it doesn't matter which one you choose, just it matters that everybody does it the same, because that's really the hardest part of getting these tosses clean in the air, okay? So make sure that when you start this one, you've got your hand at the top tape over like this. Hey, what's happening? You got your right hand under the silk at a third in. And then let's just go ahead and throw a couple. So you're gonna get from this angle, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1 and 2 and 3, right? Go ahead and try some of those on your own if you have equipment in your hand. Let me see what we got. Good. Remember, don't be afraid. No scary share hands. Ah, right? Want those hands to be in this place here. We want this shape and this shape. Pretty much the same as the pop toss. But this shape here, under body or the lower body, is going to be very, very important in the cleaning process. Go ahead and throw some more. I'm just going to check. And then if anybody has a question, let me know. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. Don't be afraid of it. Throw it straight up. The higher, the better. I also say this when I'm learning or I'm teaching tosses. In the beginning, it's so much more comfortable to let that thing go and give yourself space to react to what happens, okay? As you get more comfortable with it, you can bring the height down and all of that to get more comfortable with the release, if that makes sense. So I like to tell them to throw it higher. We'll fix that height after you're comfortable with it and everything's good to go. And then it'll be a little bit more successful. That's my take on it. I just know standing in front of high school kids that, well, and some not high school kids, that is a scary moment, okay? So just keep that in mind. Yep. Anybody have any questions at this time? We good to go? Excellent. All right. Now, that second count in the air is another point that's very, very, very important. I forget who taught me that. I forget. It was a long time ago, I'm sure. But that was the big eye-opening thing for me for cleaning tosses was, oh, you can put a checkpoint in the air even though it's not in your hands and even though you don't have complete control of it. So on this one, I'm going to look for that 2, that count 2, or the second count of the toss, and it's going to be up, all right? So if I think about this one, and I'll think about it in a nice tempo, at 5, 6, 7, I'm sorry, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1 and 2. Ooh, the wind got me. 1 and 2. That silk is going to be straight up and down above me. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1 and 2 and. Okay, now, depending on my tempo depends, and how much rotation I'm going to get depends on what count I catch on. Okay, so I may have that 2 up and then catch on 2 and if it's a silk up. If we want to add that extra half rotation to get the silk down, that count 2 is not really going to change. 5, 6. Okay. So 5, 6, 7, squeeze, and 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, so I'm still going to look for that up count, even though I'm getting a half more rotation out of the silk. Does everybody have some good information on that? Thumbs up if that was helpful, or like that if it wasn't. And if you need more, please let me know. Good? Awesome. Now, how about we talk about a lovely 45 toss, okay? Some of you may know what that is. Some of you may not know what that is. But all of the mechanics, when I think about teching my tosses, or when I think about teching somebody's tosses, whoever's it might be, I really think about where does it start? Where's the halfway point between the starting point and the release point? And how can I define that point in time? Okay. And then how can I hold my students accountable to make that happen? All right. So talking about a 45 toss, and I'm talking a very basic first 45 toss. So I'm going to start again like a pop toss with my right hand. So my right hand's going to be at the tab, and I'm going to actually face this direction so you can see the angles that I'm working on. So I'm going to start with my right hand at the tab. My left hand is going to be at the tape, up at the top tape. I'm going to start in a nice wide second position. And again, I'm facing this way so you can see the angles that I'm working on, okay? The first thing we're going to talk about is that 8 and how important that 8 and or count 8 is. So we're going to squeeze on 8. We're going to pass through. Let me back up. When I teach this the very first time, I go through a very slow process to get the pitch correct, okay? So I go through this process. I start at this angle, and we started in 4s, and then we go 2s, and then 1. So we go 1 and 2, and I'm looking for everybody in the guard to be flat at their collarbone, to have nice strength and shape in their elbows, okay? So that everybody's going to be flat in this position. Again, when I come through here, I want this flat to be super, super, super important, because that flat is going to dictate where my release point goes, okay? So once I understand that, or once the students understand that, 1 and 2, I'm going to take it down. I'm going to add the next one. So I'm going to go 1 and 2, squeeze it there, and then go 3 and 4. Now, when I talk about going to counts 3 and 4, or when we talk about going to that release point, I tell my students all the time to pull down with their left hand to bring it back behind their neck, push up with their right hand, as like they were waving at someone out in front of them, okay? So those pieces of the puzzle are super important. And I have some tricks I'll show you in a second for those who don't truly get that understanding right off. So I'm going to go 6, 7, 8, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And then I'm going to reverse it and bring it back down. 5 and 6, 7 and 8. And again, this is like day 1 of 45 toss. Once they understand that, and I can see that they have that understanding, I'm going to change it to 2 counts. I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, squeeze, 1, 2, and then I may have them hold 3, 4, and then come back down, 5, 6, hold 7, 8, so that I can take that and turn it into a very basic exercise so that every day when we start these, we have the same method all the time, okay? Once they understand that, then I'm going to take it into 1 count. So I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, squeeze on 8. 8 and is now going to be my flat. Count 1 is going to be my release. My count 1, my left hand right now, if you can see it, it's like at the crown of my head, okay? My right hand is up here at a nice steep angle, okay? So once they get that under there, so that 5, 6, 7, squeeze, and 1, then we're going to pass through it and release it. So we go 5, 6, 7, squeeze, and 1, and tap. Now, I had terrible free arms. Don't ignore them. My free arms, I want to be happening from here. I'm going to go up. I'm going to release it, and I literally have them keep this hand on the back of their neck so that the chest is open. This has nice shape, and it's easily defined and easily clean. This hand is up here at the top tape, at the tab in front of me, okay? To go into that catch, I want them to watch the tab. The tab should rotate in the same place above me and then land opposite of where we started, all right? So another one you can't be scared of. You just kind of have to let it go. So when I start, I may have them pull their silk behind them. It's windy here, so bear with me if I blow it up. But you're going to go 5, 6, 7, squeeze, and 1, 2, 3. You're going to shoot for this catch. So I'm going to shoot for my lower body to maintain in that second position. Maintain in that second position. I want a nice strong angle here, so up and low, nice and tight angle, like a seat belt again, but a passenger side seat belt. And that's how I'm going to make that one work. Now, before I go any further, does anybody have any questions?
Hey, Robbie.
Nope. Yes.
Susie, I have a question. So I notice sometimes you put your flag down to model what you're doing. Do you ever have your kids put their flags down and just clean their hands?
All the time.
Okay.
Yes, especially, thank you, Susie. Yeah. That's just understanding that muscle memory and where those muscles are going without the extra added responsibility of the equipment is very, very important. So, you know, just like I did, and this goes for any toss that you throw, we would go here, we would mark through, I would have them release, hold it for the amount of time, then catch it over here. And the big thing, I think, when your lower body starts to understand and have that control, then the flag works a little bit smoother for your students and for your members. Okay, so once you understand where those things are, then you put the equipment in it. It'll feel kind of strange, but you've got to make those muscles go where they're trained to go. I guess that's what I would say. Yeah. Thumbs up. Now, one of the biggest things that hinders students from mastering this toss really early on is the understanding of this arm and how it goes through this plane here and how that elbow comes out to rotate up to here. So a lot of times I'll have kiddos that throw like this. They've got their hands going the right-ish way, but it's not rotating in the right place. Or they will go here and throw a beautiful flat toss. So what I do, and I wish I had someone here with me to help me demonstrate this, but what I do is I would have my members stand here, ready to go. Then I will take my equipment and I will stand on the side of them, okay? So that, and I will hold my pole up. And the goal is for the member to make sure that their equipment goes over top of my equipment. And that way, if they hit your pole, they hit the staff member's pole or the partner's pole, then we're slicing through it at the wrong angle, right? But if they go over top of the pole, then it's going to set that angle really, really nice. I also have my kiddos do that in pairs for each other and have one person be the stand and hold the pole, the other person be the person to go through the release point. And as soon as they come up here, if they go through that flat plane and try to swing it forward, they're going to hit that equipment. And that'll let them know that their pitch is not truly correct. Does that make sense? I wish if my boys weren't cleaning, I'd have one of them come out here and help me, but that would probably be a disaster. So that's kind of how I work through those 45 tosses. And again, I'm going to look for that count 2. Okay, so if we're thinking about the rotation of the flag, the count 2 in the air is very, very important to get any toss clean. So we're going to think about 8 and 1 and 2, 3. Okay, so let's double check that one. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1 and 2, 3. 2 and is when I was catching, but my count 2, my silk was up above my head from what I could see. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah, super, super important. Lower bodies, all of that. Now, those were the 3 main tosses that I wanted to talk about today, but I do know that there are, when you get those tosses down, and this I guess is a little bit more for the instructor side, but members, absolutely good information for you. Maybe you want to put body under the release. Maybe you want to put a leap or a saute or a turn under that release. So like Susie said just a second ago, doing that air flag, I would start with that air flag motion. So if I was going to teach a saute under a toss, I would start here. I would get the lower body confident before I put the flag up over top of it. I would squeeze, set my feet how I wanted my feet set, squeeze, release, count 2, whatever that count 2 would look like, whether it's an arabesque, whether it's a saute, and then what count 3 would look like, okay? So I would break all of that down without any equipment in my hands first, and understand that they know the relationship of the equipment to the body, and then understand the relationship of the body while the equipment is in the air, okay? And I would do that for anything that I had to put body under. So I would break it down body first, then add the equipment with it and see what happens. I do think that if you're asking your students to do those skills without mastering that toss first, I think you could be, there's 2 schools of thought, I think, on it. I think you could be setting them up for a little bit of disappointment and causing a little bit of negative self-talk as far as, oh, I didn't get it, it's hard, I can't do this, you know, those kinds of things. So really making sure that they're comfortable with where the flag is in the air without any extra responsibility is really important. And then add that responsibility on. And I mean, that we do that at Lexus. That's how we do things. We will put the equipment down, we'll throw it, or we will mark it with the hands, do the body, and then they put the equipment in their hands next. And it's always, even with the world-class color guard, it's always fun to watch those first couple of reps, like, whoa, you know, dodging and that kind of thing. So that's how we do it, because that's just the way you get it good, in my opinion. Now, thinking about more advanced tosses, okay? And I'm just going to go through one-handed 45 from behind the back, okay? And it's basically the same kind of breakdown, where that and count is from the starting point to the 8 and, or the prep into the release, then the release point, and then following through to the catch, all right? So if I'm taking this one-handed 45 from behind me, and gang, there's lots of options of where this thing can start, all right? I like to kind of start it up so that it's at an opposite seat belt of where I am, or where I would start on the front side of my body. And then I'm going to work through that 8 and count to make sure that my pitch is set. So if I'm here, my 8 and would be here. Then my count 1 would be up here, all right? And that's a lot of motion. So you're going to think about this going 5, 6, 7, 8, and through 1 up to there. And then the goal is to see it rotate the same way, free arms, or wherever you want those free arms to be, right? So I would go 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3. Really high and really lofty, all right? Now, when you think about putting extra spin and extra speed onto that, that flick and that punch up to the release point is going to be your best friend, all right? Again, on that one, you're going to want to think high at first, and then to bring it down, all right? That's just for safety concerns for new members or new people learning that toss, okay? That just gives them a little sense of, okay, I can watch it and spot it and see where it's going before I knock my cranium off, okay? So trying that one again. I also start this one in between the tapes. For younger members, it may be okay to start it at the top tape. If you wanted to get it lofty and high, maybe start it from the bottom tape. There's lots of different options for this. But for this one, I'm going to start in the middle of the tapes. I'm going to look for my thumb to be pointing down, and I'm pointing it down the pole like this just to give me a little extra support through my wrist. Can you see that thumb? See how it's pointing down the pole? That's just going to give me a little bit extra leverage when it's up going into the air. I'll show that one more time. So thumb down, yep. So when I'm in my starting position, the thumb is pointing up the pole, yep. But just gives you a little extra stability. I'm gonna check my time real quick. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna take it through, and I'm gonna go 6, 7, 8, and through here. I could even break it down further in a 16th count, 8 and through the flat plane up to count 1 into the release point. So I could go 5, 6, 7, 8, and go 1 and 2. Yep. So watching it from over on this angle, I could get 5, 6, 7, 8, and into the release point. 6, 7, 8, and a 1 and 2. I can't believe I just dropped that. I need to redo 6, 7, 8, and a 1 and 2. Yep. And again, that trick of someone holding the pole up beside their friend so that they understand to go over top of the pole is really helpful. When somebody showed me that, I was like, light bulb, hallelujah. And then I could get those pitches cleaned much easier. Okay. Anybody have any questions on anything like that?
Do you have a couple quick fire questions for you?
Go.
What should the free hands look like for the 45 toss?
I like them to be, well, here's the next question. If you're just doing a nice technical 45, I like them behind my head, behind my neck, and open to the front like this. Not in some crazy way, but so I like this. I also, once they understand it, I may give them a release point, then open them up to a nice prayer position, or a nice, not prayer position, but a nice, this position, arms open into a second before I come into the catch. Both of those work well. And I also think that it almost depends on what's happening in your show and what kind of character you have or what kind of theme you have in your show to vary those. So if I'm doing something that maybe I need to be a little more aggressive, I could throw it, change, catch, throw it, open, catch. Just, it kind of depends on what you want it to look like under there. But yeah, I do think a good rule of thumb is out here or open here.
Yeah, there's kind of a misconception that there's like a right way in the color guard world, but with free hands, as long as your whole team is doing the same thing, free hands can be whatever works best for you guys. All right, I have another question.
Go.
Do you have any tips to catch, excuse me, do you have any tips to catch a 45 silk down?
My tip would be to make that release, when you release that, to punch really, really hard and to pull this hand back pretty fast so that it has the momentum it needs. So if I'm here, I'm going to go on this side. So I'm going to pull.
Woo.
And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, when that flag leaves my hands, I'm going to have a quick motion. The quicker and stronger delivery to that is how fast you can make that happen. I also think that I play in the world of, I'm going to control the height with my right hand, and I'm going to help control the speed with my left hand. So I'm going to pull really fast and flick really hard with the right. Pull really fast with the left, flick really hard with the right.
All right. Pointers for a horizontal toss.
Don't be afraid.
That's a good pointer.
The other thing is that I would say for that one is to always be able to watch the tab. And when I throw a nice flat toss or horizontal toss, when I release it, I want my release point to be out in front of me. Yep. And then I want that flag to stay out there so I can always watch that tab. So I'm going to release it out. Same kind of free hands as a 45, but if I can release it out and keep that tab in front of me, then I don't have the fear of it being directly over top of my head or too far behind me where I can't see it. So I think the key to that one is tab in front so that you can watch that tab rotate right in front of you the whole time. Yeah. Anything else?
There we go. Yeah, there was another one. Hang on.
Awesome.
I'm struggling with my computer right now. Ashley asked if you could hit those checkpoints one last time for air flag. And Ashley, I'm not sure, was that for the 45 toss or? $45. Okay, so checkpoints with air flag for the 45. I lost Robbie. Did we lose Robbie? Robbie, you're muted. You're muted. We're just going to read his lips, everybody. I'm trying to flag him down. What if we all just start going like this? You're muted. Robbie, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm muted. We'll try again.
Good work. Good job, team.
So I'm going to start with the right hand adjacent to the hip here, or right next to my hip. I'm going to start with my left hand up. I'm going to make sure that the focus of this is not a hyperextended wrist. Don't let them start like this. They don't get enough power like that. But if you start like this, you get all those muscles engaged, blah, blah, blah. From here, I'm going to go through 5, 6, 7, squeeze 8, 8 and. I'm going to be flat at my collarbone. 8 and then to 1. I'm going to go up to this angle with my right hand, and I'm going to come back behind my neck with my left hand. So I'm going 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1. And honestly, gang, I would teach it at that tempo. First thing, 8, 8, and 1. 8 and 1. And then I may even reverse it and down and up, even with air flag. If you can make the pathways of their hands correct, then the likelihood of their flags being correct is much higher. Okay. Was there another one that popped up?
We got 2 more, and then I think we're going to have to cut it at this. By the way, Vincent asked for questions this morning. He didn't get any. So.
Oh, yeah. I love people to get those questions.
You're getting the brunt of them. This is an interesting one. Tips for students who are over-rotating on tosses. I do have.
Tell them to slow their roll.
Calm it down.
Calm down, Sally. You ain't got to go that fast. Sorry, that's just my country way of saying it. Yeah, they have to understand that really precise detail of those hands being nice and soft, but still getting the rotation to happen. I'd also make sure that they're really going through that second count of the release, wherever that count 2 is. If they're blowing past it, then they gotta pull some power back. Great problem to have, because when you add an extra rotation on that, you're good to go.
Yeah, I would
it would be nice if we could transfer that energy from member to member sometimes.
I love your, I've never heard of this before, but the checkpoint in the air. I think that's important too, to kind of point that out to people who over rotate. Like, your flag is up on count 2 and it's already down. So slow it down so that the flag is up on count 2.
Yeah, that was the big eye opener for me when somebody told me about it. I can't even remember who it was.
I have a cadet guard kid who she's just a beast and overthrows everything. And I'm like, girl, you have the best problem to have. She goes, I don't know how to throw it less. I'm like, just don't throw it so hard. I don't like.
Yeah.
You say it.
I mean, that's really the only thing you can say. Yeah. Don't throw so hard.
Back it off. Okay, I have one last question here. Any tips for angles on a 45 when your arms don't fully extend over your head? I don't know if I've ever thrown a 45 where the arm doesn't extend, but I'm sure.
So we're saying like something that is
where the release point doesn't fully extend?
So you're releasing kind of in this place. Susie, can you repeat that question one more time just so I'll make sure I don't blow it up?
Any tips for angles on a 45 when your arms don't fully extend over your head? You know how there's all different kinds of 45 tosses, like the whip around, or there's so many. Maybe there are some that don't involve a full extension.
I think that the big thing is to still make sure that those checkpoints go in the same place, because even if you're not fully extending the arm, the checkpoint for that release point is still going to be up on that 45. So even if and I'm just going to take it with this one. Even if I'm here, and I know that I got to throw a low one here, and this arm isn't going to extend, I'm still going to really pound on this angle of the flag.
Wait.
Nice.
So, Devaney, I hope I'm saying your name right. So you're saying my front arm is always bent, but it's supposed to be fully extended?
Then, girl, you got to put that arm out there.
Then you got to extend your arm.
You got to go, wow. Really push through the elbow, straighten through the elbow. I think maybe that would be a key word to say, is really straighten through the elbow. If that's
straight arm.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, some great tips from Robbie. And you guys, if you're not on our Facebook group, we have one for students and one for the instructors. Please search Music for All Color Guard on Facebook and join our groups, because you can ask questions like this all year long. And not only will you have the faculty helping you answer questions, but you'll have other instructors answering as well. It's a really great community to be in. Okay. Robbie, thank you. I just totally muted you by accident. Unmute yourself.
You did.
Well, because you're not called Robbie, you're called iPad. So when I see like people unmuted, I'm like, mute. I don't need any inappropriateness. Anyway, Robbie, thank you for being here. I think you're doing another session today, are you not?
I am. I'm doing some intermediate flag choreography at 5 p.m. So join me again and we'll have some fun and get some twirls in.
Twirls, yes. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here. What a great turnout we had. I hope you learned something, and we will be posting this to our Music for All Color Guard YouTube channel. Just search Music for All Color Guard on YouTube and we will have all these Zooms up there. All right, go get you some lunch, Robbie. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, guys. Have a great
everybody.
season.